Hi everyone, I'm Koryn Okey and welcome back to Breezeway Academy. At Breezeway Academy, you'll learn how to build stronger, more professional vacation rental operations. So whether you manage 10 homes or 1,000, this series is here to give you practical frameworks, proven strategies, and real-world best practices that you can apply immediately. At Breezeway, we work with thousands of property managers around the world, and every day we get to see how high-performing operators structure their teams, build their workflows, and deliver 5-star stays consistently. In this series, Housekeeping Excellence, we're going to break down what it actually takes to build and run a smooth, scalable housekeeping operation in vacation rental businesses. In our last video, we talked about how to find, hire, train, and retain great cleaners. Today, we're going to cover another critical part of your housekeeping operations: how to pay vacation rental cleaners fairly, accurately, and on time. Because once you've built a strong team, how you pay them has a huge impact on whether they stay and how they perform. Cleaner pay isn't just an administrative task. It's one of the biggest drivers of trust, retention, and performance in your operation. When pay is unclear, delayed, or inconsistent, it often creates frustration very quickly. You'll see more back and forth questions, more disputes, lower morale, higher turnover, less quality in the work that's being done. But when pay is clear, transparent, and reliable, it creates stability. The cleaners know what to expect and they trust your systems, and so they're focused on doing great work. In many ways, how you pay your cleaners also sends a message about how much you value their work. So let's start with the most common question. How should you structure the pay? There are two primary models. There's hourly pay, and then there's a pay per clean, or what many call piece rate option. With hourly pay, your cleaners are compensated based on the amount of time that they work. This model is really common for in-house teams or for cleaners who are newer and still learning the process. One of the biggest advantages of hourly pay for the cleaner is predictability. They know that they're going to be paid for their time, which allows them to reduce stress and makes onboarding easier. It can also encourage them to be really thorough in their work since they aren't rushing to finish as quickly as possible. But there are trade-offs. Hourly pay is going to require that you're tracking their time, and it doesn't always incentivize efficiency. You may have two cleaners who take very different amounts of time to complete the same job, and this can make performance really difficult to manage. But with piece rate, your cleaners are paid a set amount for completing a specific job. This model is really common, especially for experienced cleaners or for operations that have more standardized processes. One of the biggest advantages here is efficiency. Your cleaners are incentivized to work quickly while still meeting your brand standards. It's also easier to forecast costs on a per property basis. But again, there are trade-offs. If you don't set expectations accurately at the beginning, there's a risk that the cleaners may rush and miss important details. This model is going to require strong checklists and quality control to ensure consistency. So which one is better? I wish I could tell you one over the other, but there really is no right or wrong answer. It depends on your operations and the cleaners that you work with. If you're onboarding new cleaners or you're managing more complex properties, hourly pay might make sense. But if you have experienced cleaners and really well-defined processes, piece rate could be the more efficient option. In fact, many operators end up using a combination of the two. They may start cleaners on an hourly pay, and then they transition to piece rate when they're fully trained. Another important distinction between the two ways that you pay your cleaners is when it comes to callbacks. With hourly pay, if there's an issue that gets caught or something was missed, you're going to actually pay the cleaner to come back and redo their work. Whereas with piece rate, the cleaner was already paid to clean the property. And so if there are any callbacks, those are just included in the standard fee that you've already agreed to. So you're not paying any additional money. The key in all of this is really aligning your pay structure with your standards and your workflows. Next, let's talk about timing. When should your cleaners actually get paid? There are a few common approaches. You could pay them after every clean. You could pay them weekly or bi-weekly. Some operators do choose to pay after every clean, especially if they're using third-party vendors or contractors. This can allow you to quickly build trust and make your operations more attractive to new cleaners to join on. Weekly payments are often a good balance though, and they provide consistency without creating too much administrative work. Bi-weekly payments are a little more common for employee-based teams, but either way, regardless of the schedule, the most important thing that you need to focus on is consistency, because your cleaners should always know when they're getting paid, what they're getting paid for, and how that payment was calculated. They should never get late or undue payments, because that's going to undo all of the work that you've done to build a strong team. about how you actually pay the cleaners, right? Once you've decided the frequency and the type of pay that you're doing, how are you actually sending them the money? There are a couple of common options: direct deposit, ACH transfers, payment apps, or sometimes even checks. Regardless of what you choose, the payment needs to be able to be trackable for tax purposes at the end of the year. And as your operation grows, manual methods like checks or ad hoc payments actually become harder to manage. They're time consuming, they're harder to track, and quite frankly, they're more prone to errors. So when you're choosing a payment method, think about how you can do so with speed, reliability, and transparency for both the ease of your team and your cleaners. Because again, this isn't just about getting money out the door. It's all about creating a system that everyone can trust. And this is where many operations run into problems. If the pay isn't clearly tied to the work that's completed, then confusions and disputes are almost guaranteed. Your cleaners might ask you, did I get paid for that job? What was included? Why is this amount different than I was expecting? And without a clear system, it becomes really difficult to answer those questions quickly. And the most effective approach is really going to be if you can connect the payment directly to completed and verified tasks. So when a cleaner finishes a job, that is documented. And once it's verified through checklists or inspections or photos, then it becomes the payment basis. This is going to remove any of the guesswork, it creates transparency, and it really just ensures that everybody is aligned on what's being done and what's being paid. When that pay is tied to verified work, everybody wins. And so this is really a case of where having the right systems makes a huge difference. With Breezeway, cleaner payments can be made directly as part of your operational workflow. So your tasks are created, they're assigned, they're completed, and they're documented within the platform. Your cleaners are going to complete checklists to ensure that the work has been done to standard, and once that work is done and has been verified, then payment can be processed based on those completed tasks. Instead of tracking everything manually in spreadsheets or waiting for invoices and reconciling payment after the fact, everything is connected, which really reduces the administrative time and improves the accuracy. Plus, it gives your cleaners visibility into what they've completed and what they're being paid for, removing any friction from one of the most sensitive parts of your operation. Cleaner pay is more than just a financial decision. It's really an operational decision. When the pay is fair, transparent, and consistent, it's going to support stronger performance, better retention, and overall a more stable operation. But when it's unclear or inconsistent, it creates friction that spreads throughout the entire team. In our next video, we're going to shift back to the work itself and break down the different types of vacation rental cleans. Think about your turnover cleans, your deep clean, mid-stay clean, onboarding clean, pet cleans, and we're going to talk about how to manage each one for effectiveness. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Breezeway Academy.